This is the Xiaomi 14 Ultra in 2025. The Xiaomi 14 Ultra has been with me for a couple of months now, and I use it as a daily driver. And with the Xiaomi 15 Ultra on the horizon, I wanted to make a recap video on this, somewhat of a 1-year review. And more importantly, how good is it holding up to the competition in 2025, the recent releases, and the things that are gonna come our way pretty soon. So overall, the Xiaomi 14 Ultra has been a great daily phone for usage. I really love the way it is made. I love the materials on it, but I do use it with a case just in case, no pun intended, and the back is still pristine. And I really have to say the design of it is something that I still really like. I just love the symmetrical lenses on the tab with the Leica on the front. Just makes it look, in my opinion, much better. So overall, the device in terms of the way it's made is still top notch. It's still a top flagship device with an amazing AMOLED display with LTPO, meaning you can go from 1 Hz all the way to 120, which means it's great for gaming and MIDI consumption. And because of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 on it, you can play all the modern games at the highest possible settings. And in 2025, with the Snapdragon 8 Elite, there are gonna be phones that are gonna be stronger than this. But I feel like if you already have one like this, I don't think it's something that I would change my phone right away unless you really need it. I feel like the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is still gonna be amazing in 2024, so it's no problem in that department. Also, the build quality is something that is still gonna hold up really nicely, because it's a really nice sturdy design with a nice back and the camera module. So I feel like it's gonna hold its own really nicely. One of the reasons I really wanted this phone as my daily driver is the cameras on the back. And the cameras on the back are still incredible, even in 2025. And I have to say that even when testing out new phones that came out after this, I still felt like it was one of those phones that I really look back onto and really am happy that I have it as a daily driver because of the photos. The photos from this device just don't feel like a normal traditional smartphone photo. Rather, they look like a more professional camera looking photo. This just makes this just feel so much better to use. No longer do I have photos that are just not as good as something I have on my full frame, and while this is not gonna be matching it 1-to-1, it does make it that the photos from this can be used like a normal traditional camera. Because of the sensors that we have here, they're really consistent across all the lenses, all the way from the ultra wide to the periscope lens. And because all the sensors are pretty nice, they perform really good in all conditions, even in low light. And the main camera sensor being a 1-inch sensor, that just makes it so good in low light and in daily photos. You can have a nice background blur even at a hand away, but also just the performance of it is incredible. So the hardware and software really complements each other, and overall this device has that camera look. But because it's a kind of like a Leica look, it does look a little bit different and could be a make or break for you. For some, it's gonna be incredible, and that is something they're gonna look for. But for some, this might feel a little bit different, and maybe not something they're looking for in a smartphone. So it's gonna be a personal preference, if you like that taste or not. But even then, you have the Leica Authentic and the Leica Vibrant. I personally shoot on the Leica Vibrant. I just feel like it's a little bit more social media ready, a little bit more vibrant, looks a little bit better. But the Authentic has that nice photo look. It adds in a little bit of vignette and desaturates a little bit, but I prefer it in the low light situations where you don't want to have the colors too strong in your photos. So overall for photos, this has been an incredible device. And 1 year later, I would still say there aren't many smartphones that are downright better than this. So if you're looking for a photo-centric smartphone, this is definitely an incredible choice. Also, this phone has incredible macro capabilities. It uses the telephoto lens for it. The photos and videos look very professional, and the proportions of the objects and subjects are perfect. Thanks to this, the photos look incredible. In terms of video, I would say there are better phones, but I would say it's amazing in what it has. Not only you can record 4K 60 frames per second across all of the lenses, which is really nice, you can also switch the lenses while recording, going from an ultra wide all the way to a periscope lens. You can also shoot in 8K in 30 frames per second or in 4K 120 frames per second on the main camera sensor. And there's also other modes that add bokeh, so the background blur behind you. You also have 10-bit capabilities for color grading in post-production, and you also have the log format if you want to really color grade in post-production. But that is limited to the main camera sensor and can be shot in 4K 60 frames per second. So it's pretty nice, but there are devices right now that are capable of a little bit more in that regard, but I would still say for most, this is gonna be more than enough. And don't get me wrong, the videos on the Xiaomi 14 Ultra are incredible. I just feel like there's some competition that has slight edge over it, but other than that, I would say it's really, really good. It's definitely up there among the best. And most importantly for me, I feel like the Leica collaboration really works nice in terms of color science. I feel like this phone really understands colors that it's shooting, and I rarely have a situation where I take a photo of something and it looks like a different tint or just different color. Where different phones like iPhone, for example, tend to go into orange or greenish tint, this doesn't really have that. It can be much more realistic, and because of that, it just looks more natural. But also, it doesn't add any artificial sharpening that the other brands do. I noticed that sometimes you would see something that really wasn't visible in real life with your own eyes, and this phone actually does it really well, that it doesn't really add any different artifacts or sharpening. Sometimes you don't see like the smudges that are artificially boosted that you don't really see but the phone saw. This doesn't do it, so I really like it for that. So for photo and video, this is an incredible choice. In terms of the software, the Xiaomi uses the HyperOS system. I have it at HyperOS 1, and HyperOS 2 is rolling out for many devices, but I would say I'm mostly, happy with it. It's not maybe a huge difference compared to the MIUI, but I would say it's pretty good. It's working as it should be. There are a little bit of quirks and things that I kind of wish were working better, like the bubbles for chat for Facebook, for example. But other than that, I would say it's pretty much working how I would expect it to work. One thing that I have a mixed feeling about on this device is the charging and battery. So on one hand, we have a nice charging in terms of 90-watt charging and 80-watt wireless charging, which is incredible for a smartphone. And the 90-watt charger is included in the box. So right away you have the 90-watt charging, which is really cool. And we have a 5000 mAh battery, meaning that you can really quickly charge it to full. I did actually use the Xiaomi 13T Pro before this, and that had 120 watts of charging. So it did feel a little bit slower at first, but then I get used to it and it just seems normal for me now. But it's still, 90-watt charging is incredible for a phone, but I do know there is gonna be faster phones, but it's depending on the competition. If you're looking for something like an iPhone or a Samsung, this is much faster. But if you're looking at different competition that some of them have like 120 watts, or even different Xiaomi phones that have 120 watts, then it's gonna be a little bit slower. But at those speeds, it's really something that is like a minor detail. The only difference is I'm not really a fan of the battery here. The 5000 mAh battery, I feel like isn't as good as I wish it would be. I just feel like it isn't as strong as I expected it to be. While the Xiaomi 13T Pro wasn't a beast in terms of battery, it did kind of feel like it held a little bit better than this. And I'm not even talking about just using the cameras that are going to be, because of their size, of the sensors and overall performance, can really take a hit on the battery. Even if I use it as a daily driver, using things like Instagram, Facebook, especially Instagram, it's gonna drain the battery pretty quick. So it's not the best in terms of battery. So it does drain quickly, but it also fills up quickly, and I just wish it was a little bit holding up a little bit better. It isn't bad per se. Just looking at the screen on time and the stats, how long it lasts, it's not bad. I just feel like I wish it was a little bit better. And I know there are phones in 2025 that have better batteries, not only bigger, because 6000 mAh batteries seem to be the target in 2025 for many brands, not all of them. Yes, there are brands that are still gonna hold up to 4000 or 5000, 450, but even Xiaomi is, I think, targeting 6000, so that could be a nice improvement. This one has a 5000 mAh battery and it just doesn't hold as long as I wish it was. For me, I would say I'm charging it mostly once per day, but if I use it a lot, I can feel it draining, so that can be a problem depending on your usage. With that being said, I feel like the benefits, for me at least, outweigh the cons of this phone. And I was able to get it a little bit cheaper, not only because it's a little bit older at this point, it's not the newest and greatest, and even though it is technically still the newest and greatest, and especially when I was getting it, it wasn't the first months, it was like 6 months later. 5 months later. So the price have dropped significantly here in Poland, and I was able to get it much cheaper and closer to the price of something like the Xiaomi 14T Pro. So in that regard, that was a really nice benefit. Because of that, I can kind of look past the little inconveniences here and there. Overall, as a complete package, I'm really happy with the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. But in 2025, I don't see myself changing this phone because it's really, really good. It's still perfectly fine, works amazingly, the screen is amazing, AMOLED display, always on display, Leica collaboration, amazing photo quality. It's really hard to beat, and in my opinion, as a whole complete package, this really takes off so many boxes for, I guess, many people. So in 2025, I can still highly recommend it. I would look into what the 2025 model, the 15 Ultra, is gonna bring. I feel like the design is not gonna be as nice, not as symmetrical, but overall, I would say, you know, it's still worth to keep if you already have one, if you're looking into getting one, especially if you can get a nice, great price. So it's definitely an amazing device in 2025, 1 year after its release. With that being said, let me know in the comment section what do you think about the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, how your experience has been with it if you already have one, or if you're looking for one, well, let me know in the comment section down below what is the main reason you want this phone for. With that being said, that is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.